welcome back. Okay, continuing on with our dirt. So just applying the dirt. This time I'm putting a little bit on the vest. I'm not going to put a lot on the vest. As you move up the body, there'll be a little bit less dirt, but since she is an archaeologist, there will be some dirt. So just continuing again around the areas where most of the dirt would be. So that would be on the base of the vest. I've put a little bit up on her chest, but there won't be much. So just continuing on with that as well. Okay, so these are just a whole bunch of dirt and grunge brushes that I've found online that are free. Again, you can find them anywhere online. Just search Photoshop brushes and make sure that the terms of usage are free and that the author has allowed you to use them. Okay, so now I'm happy with that. I'm going to create a new layer, call it all dirt, and then I'm going to make a copy of it so I can go up into my specular map and I can add the dirt to my specular map as well. So and again, we'll have to desaturate them all, making sure that there is no color in our spec map. So just going through each layer and going image adjust, desaturate, and then I can play with the intensity and the color as to how shiny or how matte that I want the dirt to be. So since it is dirt, a lot of it isn't going to be shiny. A lot of it will be very dark. So just going through and changing the different colors of each dirt layer as well. So the easiest way to do that for a lot of them would be to make them multiply or to darken them. If you can't get the look that you're after that way, go through and use your preserve transparency and fill it with a darker color or the color that you want it to be. Okay, that pretty much finishes up our body texture. If we can have a look at it in Max and see how it goes, but I'm pretty happy with that. So now I can move on to my head and face. So we'll open up the PSD file for my head and face, and we'll do the same process as I did for the body. So using the same folder structure, the same colors, the same what have you, I'm going to use that on the body. So you can just, what I did just there is I grabbed my blood layer for my backscattering for the face, and I've dragged a copy into my head layer, so I can use that as the base for when I'm painting the skin. And again, applying the texture to make sure that it is only affecting the skin layer, and dropping the fill to mimic the same amount, or the opacity to fill to be the same amount as my body layer as well. I'll also need to drag in my, I'll just make that group first. I'll also drag in my layer, my palette, so that I'm using the same palette colors as I did for the body. I don't want it to be different. Obviously we don't want too much difference between your body and your head, so I'll just grab that using the move tool and drag and drop it up onto the tab, and then I'll delete all the colors that I don't need. So I won't need the colors for the pants or the boots or anything like that. I just need the ones for the skin and for the hair. Once I've done that, I can start to paint my backscattering and subdermal layer and my skin layers for my face. So setting up the same folder structure as I did for the body. I'm going to start obviously with the backscattering as I did last time, but I'm just setting up the groups now. So just putting them all underneath the skin layer and turning them off, so I'm working on the backscattering. You can make them orange just by using the right click and going down to the color. And I can start to paint in my backscatter. So just mimicking the same as I did for this one on the body. And again, using my zygote body as a reference to make sure I know where the muscle is lying on the face, and where is bone and where is ligament. So again, using the same brush as I did for the body as well, I'll go through and I'll start to paint in the backscattering for the face. So laying in the bony areas first, so where the forehead is, where the outside of the eye socket is, and the nose and the chin and some of the jawline as well, and then putting in the muscles. So just the same as we did with the body. Here I've realized that I wasn't quite happy with the opacity. The underlying layer is too brown. It's a blood layer, so I should have left the opacity at 100%. So I'm going back to the body and I'm increasing the opacity on that file as well, so making that 100%, and then I'm going to continue with the face. So just bringing the blood layer up to 100% on just here, so that the red is showing through. And then I'm continuing to paint in where the muscles and the ligaments and the bone is in my backscattering layer. Okay, so I'm happy with how that's starting to look, but I want to make sure that everything is lying in the right spot. So I'm just going to save that out and have a look in Max, so I can make sure that yes, the nose is look in the right position and the eye sockets are actually going around the eye socket. So making sure everything is falling into place, and then I'll continue with painting my texture by putting the wash over, so the light pink wash over the top of my layer. So using a brush that I've adjusted, so just bringing in the scatter, just bringing up the scatter and my spacing on that, and making sure the opacity is brought right down, and I'll use the same pink color as I did with the body, and I'm going to paint in on a new layer over the top to bring in that wash color. To bring all the color, tie all the colors together is what I'm doing. Once again, once that's done, I can paint in the larger veins of the face. So usually just ones around where the nose are. Since the temple has been obscured by hair, you're not going to be able to get the temple ones, but we can add just a little bit of a hint of where the major veins are in the face. Once that's done, we can start with our subdermal layer like we did last time, and we'll start with the wash of the subdermal layer as well, so the base of the subdermal. So just using the scatter brush that I created, and using the same pink color as I used as well for the subdermal layer. And again, same as with the body layer, we put in the bright colors that'll help with the skin variation once we put the epidermis on. So starting with where the bones will be protruding, so these areas will be quite light when we put the skin color over the top, and then we'll work in some reds and oranges and maybe even a little bit of pink around in some areas, just to show where the shadows, enhancing shadows and showing where muscle art is, and creating skin variation overall. So paying attention to areas like the nose where the nostril comes out and dips in, and areas like that, like around the mouth where the top of the lip can be quite bright, and where the little dimples will be, and things like that. And then we can check it in Max as well to make sure that everything is sitting where we expect it to be sitting. And again, around where the jawline, we're making that, adding that kind of like a lilac colour really, just to the jawline. So again, just checking to make sure it kind of looks like she's got a weird white mustache, but it'll all make sense once we put the skin layer on top. But yep, that's starting to look pretty good. So the brighter the better really, but we don't want to go neon on her. Just bringing it back in some of the areas that didn't seem to be sitting quite right in Max. And again, don't forget the ears. Make sure that you've got reds and almost the yellowy color on the ears to make sure that the light will pass through them quite nicely once we put the shader together. But that is coming along quite nicely. So I might leave this here for now, and we'll continue on in the next video.